What's up, everyone? Welcome to the show. My name's Rad Burmeister. I'm joined by Richard Lellis. We are two of the owners and founders of Unity Gym and the UMS, Unified Movement System, where we make people strong and flexible so that they can do the things they love without pain. And today we're talking about something a little bit different for our channel. We're going to be talking about in most people's opinion that have had any real time in martial arts, the number one kung fu exercise for strength and flexibility, the horse stance. And the reason why we're talking about this is because I just made a video and posted it on our TikTok account and Instagram page. And it's just had a massive amount of views, comments, interest, questions over the last 24 hours. So it's obviously something that people want to know about. So I'm going to talk a little bit about it. Richie, if you want to bring up the video just while I'm talking here so that people can see what I'm talking about. So the horse stance is really the foundation of Kung Fu. It's where everything comes from. The strength and flexibility that you use in the forms and that, translates to the power that you can develop if you do it for long enough. And it's the reason why I made this video is because I practiced Kung Fu for almost 15 years. And when I stopped doing Kung Fu and started doing weightlifting, you can see me there. I just did a 170 kilogram, which is double body weight back squat. I think that's about 340 pounds or something like that. I can't remember. And I did that in a really short amount of time of training weightlifting. I hadn't really done any I hadn't done any weightlifting at all in my life. But with all the Kung Fu that I did, I developed a level of strength and flexibility in my lower body that a lot of people don't have, and it's a lot more endurance strength, of course. But in a very short amount of time, I was able to do a relatively impressive squat, I guess. I mean, I'm not going to win any powerlifting competitions or anything like that. But if you show that, just the squat part of that again, please, Richie, you can see I'm not wearing knee wraps. I'm not wearing a belt or anything. I've just got squatting shoes on. And I definitely go all the way down. If you just go back another sort of 10 seconds or so, you've got to go to the other side of it. More,
There we go.
Richie. Yeah, right back. Yeah, right back. Yeah, there you go. There you go. You can see, I go all the way down, all the way back up, and that's something that a lot of people work very hard for. For me, it was relatively easy, and the only thing that I can attribute it to is the time that I spent doing that horse stance. And the reason why I made the video for TikTok and for Instagram and our socials is that I've seen an emergence of you know, fitness influencers, fitness professionals that have that are influencers on social media that have experience in calisthenics or movement training or whatever. But from what I can tell, from what they post and from what they talk about, no experience in martial arts. But they've started. I've seen an emergence of people posting about the horse stance and talking about the benefits of it, and it's starting to move from martial arts and into movement training, where people that don't practice martial arts at all are practicing the horse stance for its benefits with strength and flexibility and conditioning, which is really, really cool. But a lot of them aren't really teaching the correct technique with it, which is why I made this video. I just wanted to share the more correct technique of what the horse stance is. And it's pretty cool. We've had a lot of people commenting on it, saying that they tried it. What I talk about in the video is that when you start with the horse stance, you should start with about 5 minutes. And people are going, what, 5 minutes? You can't do that. But that's how a beginner starts with the horse stance. It's not about trying to replicate what somebody that's got a lot of experience or a martial arts master can do with the depth of the horse stance. You start much higher. But if you're only doing like 30 seconds or 60 seconds or something, it doesn't develop enough endurance to be able to see real progress. And it's funny because Richard, there was a period of time when we really were developing the UMS and when we were basically, because the development of the UMS, the Unified Movement System, the program that we teach at Unity Gym and with our coaching app, the whole idea of the words Unified Movement System is that we took strong, things that are effective from multiple different modalities, like from weightlifting, from, strength and conditioning, from calisthenics, and even from martial arts. And there was a period of time there when when we were training, I made Richard do the horse stance with me every day at the start of our workout for 5 minutes. And we did that for about 6 months because I didn't want us to be teaching anything that everybody didn't have some experience in. You remember that, Richard? Remember when we were doing the horse stance for 5 minutes a day?
Let's just say that a horse stance is a lot harder than it looks, and when you're doing it for multiple minutes, even 5 minutes is a damn effort. Like 2 minutes, your legs start to burn. So to push through that to 5 minutes, it's like, all right, you're in a level of pain, and then we built up to a point where we're doing this for like 10 minutes a day, and it goes through this like pain level where you're just almost like itching just to stand up and straighten your legs, and then you go through this phase of just like you become numb to it, and then it comes
Yep.
back again. You're like, "Ugh," but for
Yeah.
10 minutes, wow.
It comes in waves, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. It's funny. My teacher, my sifu, they call it in Chinese. He said to me earlier on in my time when I said to him, I said, I just can't hold it for longer than that. The pain's so tough. And he looked at me and he said, Rad, the pain doesn't get worse when it gets to that point. You get to a point where your legs are shaking and it's hurting, and that doesn't change. It doesn't get worse from that. It's just your ability to be able to withstand the pain and the discomfort. And your ability to withstand the pain and discomfort is what produces the results. And it's quite amazing because one of the things that they teach you in traditional martial arts is, I can only really speak about kung fu because that's the one that I practiced for 15 years or so, is that it's discipline, right? We've all heard that martial arts teaches you discipline. And my Sifu used to always tell me, the discipline that you learn from doing the horse dance and from doing kung fu, it carries over to everything that you do, and it really has. I've been, I when we were in the army, Richard and I were infantry soldiers. That's where we met, and I could see that I found it a lot easier to withstand the discomfort and the pain that they pushed us through in the army than everybody else that we were working with, at least in the earlier days before everybody else had developed that same level of discipline. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. It's a funny thing, and you might be, if you're watching this and you're thinking, well, why would you do it? What's the purpose of doing this if you don't do kung fu? Well, for starters, you can see the level of strength that it produced in me, that I was able to do a double body weight squat relatively easily. But what it does is it really conditions your entire lower body, and it develops strength and flexibility. It's really, really cool. Because like, on our TikTok account, I'm getting a lot of questions where people are saying things like, I can't even get my feet in that position, or I can't get my knees over my feet, or they're talking about the technique that I describe in that video where I'm teaching this is how you do the horse stance, and people are saying that they can't get there at all. And so what happens is, over time, because the idea is that you're meant to start at a higher point. You're meant to start at a point where you can get your feet relatively facing forward, relatively flat on the ground, with your knees pushed out so they're over the feet, and your pelvis tucked under your body so that it's sitting in a neutral position. It wants to go into an anterior pelvic tilt. It makes it easier, but the idea is that you pull it into a neutral position and keep your back relatively vertical. And when you do all of that, it's really challenging. Hey, Richie, like, you can feel your quads are just burning to hold you in that position. Your
Oh yeah.
ankles are on fire. Like, you can just feel everything. And what happens is the isometric strength that you develop through there. There's all these flexibility movements that we use in the UMS, and that are much more modern methods of training flexibility, where you use isometric holds to develop flexibility, because developing that strength at the end range is what produces flexibility and mobility. And it's the same thing with the horse stance. So it develops strength, it develops conditioning, mentally and physically, and it also develops flexibility right through your lower body, hips, knees, and ankles. It's really cool.
Yeah, just looking at that position with your legs so wide apart, you can tell like most people probably wouldn't even be able to do that. So it just goes to show you, like, practicing this for how many years did you do it, Rad?
Well, I did. So I started kickboxing when I was 17, and then I started kung fu when I think I was 18 or 19. But I started with Wing Chun, and Wing Chun doesn't use the horse stance. And then I did I started wushu, which is where I did the horse stance when I was about 20. And I did that right until I joined the army when I was 30. And then in the army, I had on and off times. Like when we were in East Timor for 9 months, I trained really, really hard. But, like there's other times where I didn't do it at all for 6 months. And then when we got out of the army, I did it for another year. Remember when we opened Unity Gym, and I went really hard for a year or two. And that's when I decided that I was going to move into calisthenics and other things. So, you could say 10 years of one hit, and then another 5 years after that of some really like on times and some off times.
But yeah, like just that in itself, you could say drastically helps you get better at things like the middle splits just because of that hip angle that you're using there, that strength that
Yeah.
you're using. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen Rad's videos of him doing the middle splits, but he's got a pretty impressive middle split. So, all of these sort of things factor into, yeah, that end goal that Rad's achieved with the middle splits and the horse stance. Many years of
Yep.
training.
Yeah. Yeah. It absolutely does. And it's a pretty cool, it's a pretty cool thing to have developed because, like anything that you work on with your training, um, if you develop a level of strength or flexibility that you've always wanted, then as long as you keep training, it stays with you for a lot. It's a lot easier to keep it than it was to build it. And so I went through that sort of experience that you talk about, Richard, where you're just crying when you're doing the horse stance and stuff. This is actually I'll link this video for you, Richie, because I've found a video where you can see me doing some middle splits and the strength carryover. So I'll drop this into the marketing channel for you, Richie. And if you open that up and just go to 10 minutes 35 on that video that I just shared. But yeah, it does carry over. It has a massive carryover to pretty much anything that I've done that comes with lower body strength and flexibility. Like when I was working with Joachim Hilderson, who was a flexibility coach that I worked with for about a year. Um, he was saying that I developed like this is called a straddle up that I'm doing here, and he was really surprised at how quickly I developed this ability. And it all comes back to the horse stance. It's really, really cool, and it's a cool exercise. It's a really simple exercise that you can do anywhere because you can do it. That's one of the cool things about at least kung fu is that there's a lot that you can do without any equipment at all. In fact, most of it is done without equipment. And so, yeah, if you can, push yourself to dedicate 5 minutes a day, 6 days a week to doing this, you'll see a big, big, big change in your body. Very, very
Be the
cool.
most committed for the middle splits as well. Doing 5 minutes of that a day. There's not many people that do that unless you're practicing
Yeah.
kung fu.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's funny. A lot of martial artists come to us in the UMS to get more flexible. We have a lot of martial artists that do it. And I won't name any styles because as soon as you start poking holes in other martial arts systems, people get really, really upset and offended. I've already had a couple of comments when people are trying to tell me, oh, it's other styles of this and that. It's a funny conversation. But I've seen a lot of people that have decades of experience in other styles of martial arts that I would think would produce a similar result that I've got. And they come to us after 10, 20 years of training because they want to get flexible. They want to get, better results. And I do think when I look at the way that they do the horse stance, when I look at the positioning of their body, and there's just not that same level of focus on the technique, which is why I made this video, right? That's what I said about it. I wanted to share with people the technique that I learned that produced better results than what I've seen in most other people. So yeah, hope that
It's a,
helps.
I think it's
Um,
a great alternative to squatting as well. Like if you're somebody that is suffering from some sort of injury that prevents any sort of loading, excuse me, any sort of loading or external loading like a barbell, um, it's a great way of training your leg muscles without that external load. I can't think of a better calisthenics body weight based exercise to get started with if you're really compromised in some way, especially like
Hmm.
this is not just for compromised people, obviously, but yeah, if you're in that category of people that is really lacking that strength, or again, you've suffered an injury, man, it can do you wonders. Like any isometric
Yeah.
hold in general for strength can do you wonders. Um, Upper body, lower body, whatever it is. But yeah, if you're in that category of wanting to get started, it's a great one to add to the routine.
Mm. Show the horse stance video again, Richie, because I can see we've got a bunch of viewers that have just joined the live stream, just so you can see what the exercise is. So if you're joining the stream late, the number one Kung Fu exercise for strength and flexibility that I'm talking about here, it's called the horse stance. In Kung Fu, when you learn from Kung Fu teachers that have a lot of experience, there's a real similarity across the field, and that is that the horse stance is the foundation of Kung Fu, and that's just me doing a double body weight back squat at 170 kilos, where I was just giving context to the strength that it developed in me and how that carried over to weightlifting. So yeah, this is give it a try if you want to learn the technique that I teach there. You can just go to our TikTok page, just search for Unity Gym, or to Instagram, search for Unity Gym. You'll see it there in our reels. It's the most recent video I posted. I'll do a YouTube tutorial about it, um, because it's something that's, it's got a lot of interest. So I'll make a full YouTube video. It'll go up. Gantz O is saying, are you going to put it on YouTube for those that don't use it? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We're just, we really focus on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok to get content out there. And, TikTok's just this emerging platform. So we've just been playing around with it, but people are enjoying our stuff. And basically what I'm doing, Gantz, is anything that gets a lot of views or a lot of interest on TikTok, I say, okay, well, that's obviously something that people are interested in. I'll make a video for YouTube. So just recently, I actually posted a video on something called the Kung Fu wrist set, which is a wrist strengthening exercise that you do in Kung Fu to get really strong wrists and strong grips. That's had heaps of views. It's got like 900,000 views now on TikTok. And so I've made a video for YouTube for you guys, a proper YouTube tutorial, which is getting edited right now by our videographers. So that'll come up. And yeah, I'll make a video on the horse stance specifically for YouTube for you guys. So it'll be a proper produced video. So that'll go up, I don't know, maybe in a week or something like that. So yeah, thanks for the question. Thanks for watching. Thanks everyone for watching. As always, if you liked this video, like and subscribe to our channel for more cool stuff, and share it with your friends. And if you want to go deeper with us, if you want to learn how we make people strong and flexible, you can get our coaching app. There's a link in the description of this video. It's less than $2 a day, and you can work with us in our phone app and get the full UMS. Thanks, Richie. Thanks, everyone.
No worries,
We'll see you all
guys.
tomorrow. If you've got any questions, let us know.